Ugh.
They're
Well,
all doing this with their hand. Come on, register. Let's do it. I can't. Damn it.
put it in front of you. Put it in front of you.
Yeah, they're doing that.
Oh, the envy hand?
Battle hand.
The battle hand?
Yeah.
Good old. Got him with the
And that
class.
was how I was gonna find the real one. Fuck.
Dang it.
All right. Oh boy, this is gonna take some thinking.
Well, my first
Yeah.
question is, do the fake ones have solid mass to them?
Yeah, can we destroy the fake ones?
Tyrant goes and pokes one in the shoulder.
We'll say Anna Rose does. You can walk around to like some of the envies and like tap them or like interact with them in some way. What are you gonna do?
Oh, me? I was gonna throw my hat at one.
Okay. You throw your hat at one of them. She catches it, and then looks at it, turns it over, brings it back to you. She says, "We wouldn't want you to lose this. It's your signature." Hands it back.
All right.
Well,
I guess we might have to look into what makes envy as opposed to something else.
that might
Which
be
is
a
a
good
hard question, because what makes like each of us individuals is a huge question, especially for human beings and mutants, let alone for robots, which are meant to be, uniform. But Envy's different because she's Nancy. Je ne sais quoi. I don't know what that means. I think it means, I don't know what it means.
One that's gonna be the hardest part. All of these are also envy, so any question we ask, they're probably all gonna know.
I don't think it's about this. Maybe it's not about knowledge. It might be about, I don't know, just how Envy does her thing.
While Grace and Tyrant are talking, Osprey, one of the envies kind of just is standing next to you, and she says, "They're very eager, aren't they?"
Yeah.
She says, "I remember when you were quite young and eager about things.
I mean,
She says, that first time we sparred."
oh yeah. Yeah. I was quite shit then.
You've improved.
I don't know. I feel like I might have. I'm wondering about you, though. You seem to be taking on a whole lot, especially as of late.
Well, I've been around a lot longer than you have. I think we tend to just take on things as we move through our existence. And, it's not easy to unload them often.
No, it ain't. And you also been by yourself. Like, I've had my brother the whole time. So, like, there's a good way for me to gauge. And I got another brother now. But you haven't ever had anyone else. Well, you did. Just want to make sure you're all right. Because these tests have been pretty hard. And they've been hitting us hard.
That is my intention.
I see.
The world is hard, Osprey. Sometimes we must become hard to survive it. I'm hoping all of you retain a small bit of tenderness, though. I think that's important for you. For all of us.
Ain't that the truth?
And that Envy sort of walks off and joins the rest of the crowd.
Mm-hmm. I just take a seat. I kind of give a look. And I just look at the envies and listen in on whatever anyone's talking about.
Yep. Somebody else have an idea?
Could we hear that conversation?
If you were like paying attention and not talking with Grace and Tyrant, I'd say yeah, you could have like listened to it if you wanted to.
Okay.
In fact, I'll say an envy walks up to you. She says, "I like this new form of yours. It's interesting. It's fun."
I mean, isn't that the beauty of this space, that you can you're not limited by whatever you want to call, whatever the outside reality is. This reality is whatever you make of it, right? Your only limit is yourself.
She nods. She says, "Funny, I used to know someone who said that about the other world. Maybe we can do both." She
Yeah.
kind of like pats one of your like clawed, like, you know, side hands, and like takes a seat and just like sits down.
I got a question. I'm just curious. Are you planning to stay logged in for a while after this? When this exercise is complete?
A different envy than the one that was talking to you kind of steps up from behind you. She says, "I may wish to stretch my servos," is the best analog I can give you.
Okay.
I have been working on this for your benefit, to build up our skills. The challenge of the collective is not going to be an easy one to overcome. Call it a boot camp of sorts.
Do you want us to dust you off when we get out?
She says, "It's very thoughtful. I would not object."
Okay. The least we can do, right?
Anybody else? Having ideas? Having a plan?
Tyron's gonna like kind of just like slowly trail off the conversation with Grace and just kind of be like, you know what? I have an idea.
Oh yeah?
Go for it.
I'm gonna walk up to the nearest envy, just hold out my hand, and just. It's been a long journey to get here, huh?
She takes your hand, says, "Yes, indeed. You and I have walked quite a few miles together."
Yeah, if I remember correctly, your first mile at Blessing was with me.
She nods. She says, "Funny how we meet the right people at the right time, isn't it? Like there's some sort of plan for us."
Yeah, it's even more funny when, at that moment, I didn't know a thing about you. and back then, I just saw it as another way to get into people's places for trade, and then lo and behold, I trust you and more than anyone else that I meet at the damn Blessing.
Rude.
She looks over at Osprey. The one standing next to you, Osprey, kind of nudges you.
Yeah.
But the one who's like talking with Tyrant says, "Trust is hard to come by, especially in our world, even more so in this one. Hopefully I've made that clear." She kind of takes her hand away, but she's still looking at you, and she says, "I think you are a good person, Tyrant. Perhaps by the end of it, you will have learned to get out of your own way."
One can hope, huh?
And that envy kind of like looks off like something caught her attention and walks like into one of the mirrors. Well, like another one like walks out and sort of stands in the place that one was.
Aaron kind of nods and then just kind of looks over in the direction that envy looked.
Okay. There's more envy.
Yep.
Anybody else got something? I think.
No, go.
No, go ahead.
I kind of like sit up, and I'll like walk a little bit into the mirror maze. Do the mirrors reflect me at all?
Yeah.
I try creating a copy of myself through like the mirror, using the mirror escape that's there.
So you kind of reach out to the mirror to try and like feel something there besides mirror, maybe like a physical version of yourself. Okay, yeah.
And see if I can make the reflection real.
Yep. Roll with advantage.
19 or 7.
19 though.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say this happens away from the group.
Okay.
But when you put your hand out like that, it touches for a second.
Mm-hmm.
You like think about it, and your fingers sort of slip to the side, and then do this with the other osprey on that side.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like looking at yourself, and that osprey is looking at you with like the same like whoa expression. You kind of like pull your hand away, and then that one pulls its hand away, but it doesn't like put its hand down the way you do, right? And so you're like,
not a reflection.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Anna Rose and Envy kind of walks over, and then like sits down next to you. She says, "What do you think of this place?"
The web?
Yes.
It seems interesting. It seems like a place where thoughts don't necessarily need to be contained.
She says, that's sometimes the case. Sometimes it's very important to contain our thoughts. That's the problem the collective is having. None of their thoughts are contained, and that's why they're changing the fabric of the net as we speak. She says, does it scare you? I remember installing your interlace. That was not the normal way those operations tend to go.
I would say so much has happened to me that the only thing I fear isn't even death at this point. The only thing I would fear is something like the collective, getting trapped and not being able to die.
She nods. She says, all things should be able to end, shouldn't they?
Yep.
She gets up and like offers to help you stand up. She says, I think I'd like to keep on going for a while though.
I'll accept the hand and get up.
Yep. That Envy sort of just like leans on her staff but doesn't go anywhere. She's kind of like looks thoughtful. Anybody else want to try something?
Got an idea.
Hit it.
Go for it.
I'm gonna try and code a HUD into my own vision
Okay.
that puts markers on all the logged in users of the spot that we logged in at.
Explain that a little more.
So pretty much the idea of like finding someone's exact IP, we all logged in from the same spot, so theoretically we all would have one.
Yep.
So the active users would have a marker. Anything that isn't an active user would not.
Okay. Roll me the d20.
I'm just trying to create like a mini map. I'm not trying to find an exact location, just something on my screen that says that.
Yeah, okay.
13.
Okay. You make this little like scanner thing, right? And at first it's doing the like sweep of the room with its little like rotating dial, and you see blip 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 a few spots like light up where you're like looking with your companions. And you're like adjust the knob here, tweak a setting here, and it starts to like pick up like, and now the whole thing is just lit up with pings in the room. So that's what you find.
I just turn back and go and like hold the scanner in my hand. I was like, "What's worth a shot?"
Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna voice to the other people. I think the answer might be that none of these are not the real envy. I'm thinking that they could all be the real envy.
They're all real.
Yeah.
The whole,
If
we keep.
the task is to find. Yep. Go.
Well, we keep kind of going on this whole thing about how nothing in the internet is real, but the whole point of the net and the web is that it is very real, and that all of our consequences are real. We keep acting like this is just a place that we're going to go to and it's going to be no consequences, but the whole point of it is that it does have consequences, and that's why we go. Because we like to see consequences to our actions, even if they're extremely crazy. And even if we all looked super different half the time, like I was a cat at one point, I still had a sense of self and a sense of who I was. And I mean, I think that the whole point of this is that every single one of them is real. And I agree with Anna Rose. I think that the whole point of this is that we're able to be a bunch of stuff and all that wholesome shit or whatever. But yeah, I think that they're all probably pretty real.
Can we work together? This is going to sound, maybe this is, like, the point was before about working collectively. So what if we all decided as a group that one of the envies was the real one? I don't know what criteria we would decide to pick, but like, I think we all need to be in agreement on that.
Osprey,
Mm-hmm.
your copy is looking across from you, and he says, whoa now.
Yeah. Yeah, no shit.
It's like, he's like, what did I do?
Or what didn't you do? Fuck.
What? What did you do?
You know what? We're both the same person. Yeah?
I guess.
I look over at the group.
Do you come back with this copy?
Yeah, I'm gonna walk back.
You like wandered into the mirror maze for a little bit,
Yep.
so
I'll walk back with a copy of another Osprey.
I'll say as you're walking back,
Mhm.
an envy like steps in front of you and one steps in front of the copy. She says, "Oh, there's more of you now."
I figured I'd pull your trick.
She says, "It's fun, right?"
I mean, yeah. But
The other one of you says, "I don't know about that."
you're only saying that because you ain't real.
No, he says that at the exact same time that you say yes.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
It's like simultaneously, like.
Okay. Yep. I'll give a smirk then.
And when you turn and say it's just because you're not real, he just like is flipping you off before you like.
Just
Yeah.
I cut off before you even finish it. I'm just like, hey, you rat. Nah.
She says, should I play the game too?
I mean, you already are, aren't you?
Well, this is a new game. Now there's more Osprey.
Mm-hmm.
So which one of you is real?
That's a good point.
The other Osprey is just kind of like, He's like eyeing you suspiciously.
I look at that Osprey and I go, yeah, I like what he's thinking. How about you play the game too?
You see the envies who have been asking these questions. They're both in the sink.
Mm-hmm.
And she points at you. She says, "You're the fake."
Points at me.
Points at you, and then pop. And now you're the other Osprey.
I look down and look over.
The other envy is pointing at that one. She says, "You're real." And you are. You're yourself. And she says, "How do you think I figured it out?"
I kind of looked down at myself, realized I moved. Looked at the other one.
Who's not there?
I looked at the space where the other one is.
Yeah. You see one of the envies approaches you. The other one has like walked into another like mirror reflection. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She looks at you and she says, "Because I know you. You're real because I believe you are real, Osprey. You can't fool me."
Yeah, but we have our own thoughts and everything in here in the net. I could be... Just because you think I'm real doesn't make me real.
It does here. And 3 more envies kind of join around the circle. She goes, try it.
I try to have a couple ospreys walk out of a mirror.
They do.
I stop and I go, nah, you guys ain't right. And I want them to like kind of ruffle their coats and then like just pass their hands over their face and they become envies. Can I do that?
Yeah, please do with advantage.
Well, 17 and a 20. Fuck
Like
my dice.
Not 20?
Yup.
Yeah. They kind of like look at you. They give a little smirk. They do a and they're envy. And every envy that's now around you kind of like into themselves and then into the one in front of you. She says, I think you figured out the game.
Let's go see if the rest can.
Let's
And
join them.
I ruffle my coat a bit and I walk back.
So the rest of you are now back in like the beginning area of the maze with a lot of envies around. Back with like where you were conversing, where you're like, I think we need to all agree or whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm. That opening stage. Hey, y'all.
Hey, Osprey.
Osprey returns with an envy who's following him.
I want to...
She kind of stops you. She says, let's see what they said.
Yeah, let's find out.
And another envy, like across the room, looks at some of you, and another one looks at another one of you, and they all say simultaneously, so did you figure it out?
Aaron stops, says, hey, Osprey. Notices the envy that's next to him, looks at Grace and go, I think you've got it. I think you figured it out.
That was Anna Rose who mostly got it. I don't want to take too much credit.
Fair enough, but
They figured it out.
it's more so a matter of it's all real. At least in here. And I just kind of turn and look at the envy that's next to Osprey, and I'm like, for all I know, maybe I'm not the real one.
You ain't.
Wait,
Maybe
let's
that's not
not
the
get
real
into that.
Osprey.
It's gonna get really existential really fast.
Maybe that's not the real Osprey.
Can I say
But
you
we're in
ain't
the net.
and then have a tyrant walk in?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, roll that for me. Roll that for me.
4. There it is.
Another Osprey walks in.
It's an osprey dressed as tyrant.
What?
And he kind of and that like osprey dressed as tyrant kind of laughs and then becomes envy.
Fair enough.
Because of the bullshit earlier, I want to change some code to make me look like Osprey.
Roll.
That's a nat 20.
Oh.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
Osprey, there's another osprey in front of you. He looks at you and he says, gotcha, buddy.
You right. I got you one better though. And I want to look over at one of the mirrors and I want Tyrant to walk out of there, me disappear and replace myself with where Tyrant is.
Yep. Roll.
Please.
He's just sitting down
Please let us
watching
do
this like
13.
Please let us do this switch.
Yeah, that you kind of look over at the reflection
Mhm.
and you wave, and as you wave, it just and now you're standing back over where Tyrant was. Tyrant, you're next to the envy that Osprey walked in with. She looks over at you and she says, so what do you think?
I look up to Osprey. I look up to Envy, and I'm like, I think you're as real as I am.
And when you say that, all the envy in your vision and join to become her.
I just look back at Osprey and just kind of nod.
I give
Yep.
you a nod back.
Like after the fucking power switch that we just did.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just look at Osprey. I'm just kind of like, yep.
Yep. Anna, Reggie, Grace, where are you guys at? You still all see a bunch of envy.
Yeah, I'm gonna... Grace goes over to the mirror. I get what's going on, but I don't like the concept of things seeming not real, but everything having extreme consequence. Because, I mean, eventually, like, I'm gonna disappear, and it's just gonna be Chester. I'm slowly being taken over by a parasite that's gonna completely destroy my sense of self at some point, I'm sure. And if I do that, then, like, that means that I don't even know what it's gonna be like to be in here. Will I be Grace, or will I be Chester? Maybe I'm already Chester. So I don't know if I can really, like, say this place has no consequence, because this could be where I go when Chester's down there, and I'm up here.
The envy in the mirror steps out of it. And she says to you, I think of everyone here, you're the most familiar with consequences, especially on the net, given the people you also come here with.
It's a bit strange that way.
She says, I think you're capable of finding your own way here. And if that's with other teachers, that's okay. That's your choice. I wouldn't try to take that from you. But I will ask you to make choices now and again. Like right now.
Isn't it? It's a bit weird that I am admittedly with very questionable people here and things. And yet at this point in time, we're not really kind of sides anymore, because we're all trying to go against this one collective that's going to destroy the thing that we both really, really like. So I hope that maybe we'll put that aside for a little bit and we can go back to trolling once we kind of have more of an internet to troll on again. But you're the real envy, I think. And I'm going to say you're the real one, because we had this talk and it felt fucking kicking.
The envy's all and center on that one. And she kind of walks over to the envy that was standing next to Tyrant at this point and joins. And then she nods at you, Grace.
Do I still have eyes on the envy that spoke to me personally?
Yeah. That one in particular is like not looking at you anymore. She's just sort of like staring off into space, along with a few others. Like there's one that's like closer than her at this point, who's now looking at you.
Sure. I want to try this. I want to try walking into one of the mirrors.
Okay.
And like in particular, maybe potentially like the reflection. If it's possible to find a mirror that has a reflection of the one that was talking to me. Like, but that's the I'm like eyes closed, walking straight into the mirror, like it's a doorway.
Okay. Yeah. Go ahead and roll.
Sure.
With advantage.
Chester is a 7.
That's up 2.
Yeah, a 5 and a 7.
Okay. You just kind of bump into the glass.
Yeah.
And the envy that was watching you kind of laughs. And she says, still full of surprises. She says, sometimes, Reginald, you can't beat the game by not playing it. She says, there will be times when the only way forward is forward. And you won't be able to double back or circle round or get the upper ground. You'll just have to go.
It makes me deeply uncomfortable.